21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
I live in Colorado. I'm actually in a small town in the U.S. called Palmer Lake, Colorado. There's only 1,800 people in this town. There's no stoplights. There's like 7 little boutique restaurants in this little village, and I love it. And I've been up here for about 16 years now. And so I have my wife of 16 years as well next month. And I have 3 children. So I love that the most. I mean, that's why I do what I do, right? So, and the interesting fact about where I live is it's at 7,600 feet in elevation. So it's really high up. I'm kind of between these 2 mountains, and it snows. It's every year I've lived here. It snowed in May and in September. And last year in 2020, it's the worst year ever, right? It snowed in June, and I mean like June 10th, it was snowing. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful area, but it's kind of unique.
It is. And you guys like to eat a lot. I mean, 800 people and 7-8 restaurants. So,
well, it's like everyone so we're right between 2 bigger cities, Denver and Colorado Springs. So a lot of people come from those bigger cities to our little village on the weekend because we have this little lake here, right? And so these restaurants are a popular place for people to go on the weekend.
And before Colorado, what was
Michigan?
Michigan.
I was born and raised in Michigan. I've actually been in Colorado for 27 years. Been only up here in Palmer Lake for 15, 16 years. So I moved here in 1995 when I was 21 years old. So everyone can do the math now, how old I am. But yeah, I moved out here. I grew up there and met my wife out here. And so just stayed in Colorado, and it was a great place to be as a young person, and still is. So it's, everyone in Colorado is very into hiking, mountain biking, snowboarding, or skiing. We have paddle boards. Like, it's an active lifestyle in Colorado.
Any similarities with Texas or California? So is it IT oriented, or?
A lot of people from both of those states moved to Colorado.
Oh, really?
So Colorado has the mountains. So it's these beautiful mountains. It's the Swiss Alps of Europe. It's here in America. So Colorado has all the mountains. It's the ski towns, the ski villages and things like that. But in Denver, it's a very big tech sector as well. So we have a lot of technology companies based there, a lot of growing smaller startup culture starting there. And where Colorado Springs, we're right between the 2. A lot of younger people moving there. So it's, in Colorado Springs, you're at the base of this very famous mountain called Pikes Peak. And there was a song written about Pikes Peak, America the Beautiful is the name of the song, right? And in that song, it talks about Purple Mountain Majesty. And that is written about the mountain, Pikes Peak. When this woman first saw this mountain, she was just stunned by its beauty and wrote this song. So it's pretty cool. So it's a beautiful place to be.
And what's the story regarding you being co-founder of company? Can you? Yeah. So the name of the company is BombBomb.
BombBomb, yeah.
BombBomb. That's
BombBomb, BombBomb.com. It was back in the early 2000s. My business partner and we've been friends forever. We're both from Michigan, both from the same hometown. Met each other also in Colorado in our young 20s. Had several other businesses together before this one, and we were in marketing. We were in our early 20s. We ran a painting company, believe it or not, like a house painting company. And then we got into marketing and digital marketing, learned a lot about that. And that's kind of how BombBomb came about. I was working for a marketing firm, and Connor, my co-founder, we had built this product at that marketing firm, and it was email based. And Connor thought, well, wouldn't it be awesome if we could include video in emails? Now, listen, this was in 2004. Mm-hmm. So YouTube was privately owned. Facebook was not a thing. The iPhone did not have a camera in it.
Wow.
Okay. So to think about doing video in an email is just crazy talk, right? Just crazy. So I thought, well, that would be a pretty cool idea. And we started to work on that. And Connor, we had a server we put in his closet, and because that's the only way you could really host video, right?
So no VPNs back then.
No, well, yeah, there was, but that was what we wanted to be able to do, is to send a video, but we didn't want it to be on YouTube, because then in YouTube it could go anywhere, right? We wanted the message to be somewhat private. So this idea of a private server, we'd host it there. So we put the server in his closet. We sent out one email with a video, like it was just a screenshot of the video with a link to watch the video, right? So a screenshot, JPEG, link to watch the video. That he sent to 150 of his customers at the time, and everybody went crazy for it, but they wanted to know the company he used to do it, because they wanted to do it. So we're always been entrepreneurial. And he comes rushing to my house that day. I'll never forget it. I was just married, and he's standing in the kitchen of my house, and he's saying, "Oh, this is it. This is the business," right? Like, so we had always been trying to figure out a business that we could do that would be big enough that to pursue the things we wanted to pursue. We could talk about that later, but we always had an idea about what that was. We wanted to help. He had gone to Africa, or in a really short version of this, he had gone to Africa, and he had met a person there, and a family there, who were helping poor children who were orphaned, and they were taking care of them. And so he wanted to do that. He wanted to move to Africa. So what we were trying to do is develop a business plan that would enable him to work from Africa or be in Africa, but sustain him there, and then sustain this people, these orphans and widows in Africa. So that was the plan. And he was like, I think this is going to be big enough to do that, right? And so, and then before that, we've been collecting URLs. You might remember this, Martin. Like back then, you try and buy every URL that you thought would be something cool. And we had bought BombBomb.com, and we had this, and I'll never forget, he said, we can use the BombBomb one for this. It's catchy, right? And he was so excited. It was awesome. I'm like, yeah. So we threw in our capital together, because we'd both been somewhat successful sales and marketers. And so we put our own money together and quickly realized we knew nothing about software development at all, like nothing. And again, this is in 2006 now. And I think now it's just very common. People like, you got to get software development. Maybe you got to raise capital. These things were not so either common to us. They definitely were not as common as they are now, right? Back then. So we did this. We put our own money together, blew all that money. And then we finally met our third co-founder, a guy named Kevin, who helped us. He had just sold a company, but he had ran 200 developers. So he had a software development background. So he helped us develop the first architecture for what is now BombBomb. And that's seen many evolutions since then. So yes, again, if you're doing the math, we started business in 2006. I didn't quit my job though until 2011. And we probably didn't sell any product until 2012. So that's how long it took just to get things kind of rolling there. We were so early with this idea, and frankly, we still are. The idea of video, many people are just coming into it now for the very first time. Realizing it like this. I mean, when they think about video, I think they think about marketing through video. And what we like to think about is relationships through video. There's a key difference there, right? So yeah, YouTube, commercials you might see on television. There's all kinds of video content out there, but most of it is marketing based, content based. What we want to do is send personal messages to people that matter, either in our business or in our personal lives. That could be, really, and you think about it in a company context, it's about the experience you want to deliver to the folks that you work with, your customers, your potential clients, your future clients, your existing clients. I think that the big differentiator for most companies is going to be their people, but we do a bad job now with all this technology that we have, getting our people forward. I think we always lead with the technology, right? We lead with text, email, text, LinkedIn messaging, it's text on my phone. It's very text forward. And I believe that removes some of the best characteristics of human beings, which are, I'm better face to face, man. You are too. I know you are, because we just met minutes ago, but humans are usually better when they meet in person. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
And I just think that we're hiding more behind technology than ever before. And then we've replaced even now it's not even humans in technology, it's bots in technology, right? So it's bots with that messaging. So we've seen this proliferation of messaging. It's gotten more and more and more. How do we now bring humans back to the center of our communication? That's what we call it, human-centered communication. Okay, and that's our point of view, that we believe humans are better when they're face-to-face, and their relationships matter in business. And so we want to enable that to happen through our technology. So that's the story of BombBomb. That's how we got here, why we believe what we believe.
Can you go more into technology? Is it a robust one? What's the platform you're using?
Yeah, so we're hosted in the cloud redundantly through different service providers, including Amazon, Google, and others. So, but it's a service that you can access. But what we do is enable video technology in all messaging platforms. So, because what we want to do is help you be face to face with more people more often, so that you can build relationships with those folks. That again, so we can talk about it in a sales process. We can talk about it in maybe a customer process. So it's an existing customer process, but let's talk about it in terms of like selling, right? So maybe if you're an entrepreneur or you're listening to this, you're a salesperson, right? No matter if you're the only person in your business, or you're the 5th or you're the 100th, you're still one of the chief salespeople in your business. So I think that, again, you're better when you're face to face with people. And I think a lot of how we grew BombBomb was through networking, shaking hands, meeting people, sitting down. But what we found is with video, you can collapse the time that it takes to do some of those things, right? So maybe I don't have to get on a plane for you to feel like you met me, but I can send you a video and say, and I did it to you, Martin, right? When I found out I was going to be on this podcast, I sent you a video. I said, hey, Martin, how you doing? Darin Dawson from BombBomb. I just want to tell you I'm excited about being on the podcast with you. I'm really looking forward to it. I just wanted you to have a face with a name, and look forward to meeting you in a couple months. I think we booked this, a while ago. And so then you got to see me, kind of knew what I look like. And then you sent me one today, and I got to see you and know you a little bit more. I think this is how relationships begin. If you were going to say, if you're starting a business, you're probably maybe going to networking events and you're trying to meet people. What do? Are you texting them? Are you walking up and holding a sign? No, you're walking up and you're shaking their hand. You're asking them, where are they from? Do they have a family? These are the ways that people build relationships. It is through human connection. And I just don't think text does a very good job of doing that. And so we want to enable that through video. And so again, if it's on LinkedIn, you can use BombBomb there. If it's on email, you can use BombBomb there. If it's in Facebook Messenger, you can use any place, basically Outlook, Gmail, any of these places, your Salesforce, some of the other CRMs that you might be using, you can use video in those contexts to make those messages you're sending more personal. I think a lot of times right now, what we're doing is we're trying to personalize everything that we mass send, right? I mean, do you get a lot of you get a lot of email, just the solicitation email, right? Like people are soliciting you for business. So yeah, when I get off this call, I'll go to my inbox or my LinkedIn, whatever, and I'll have a ton of stuff there, right? Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that humans are sending that? Or do you think that robots or like machines are doing that now?
Who knows? 50-50, maybe 50%.
At best, right? So yeah. A lot of times software, it might have a person's name, but you don't feel anymore that person actually sat down and created that message for you, right? Like we don't believe that anymore, I don't think. And so when that happens, it makes it easier to ignore you, right? Mm-hmm. So let me illustrate this. So what we're doing is we're creating messaging, but our salespeople are people that work for us, they're not creating it. And then we're mass producing it on a huge scale and sending it to like 1,000 people. and we're hoping someone responds to it. I think the problem with that is everyone knows now that a real person didn't create a real message for a real person, right? Mm-hmm. And so then what happens is it's easy to ignore it. If I thought you actually sent me a message, I might actually take the time to respond to it. I still might not, but don't you think your chances to be responded to are higher if I thought you actually took the time to do it? Right.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I think it makes it easier to be ignored, right? It makes it easier to be ignored now more than ever. And everyone's doing this. There's a saturation of everyone doing the same thing. So now it's just like, I'll get all these emails. I'll go click on one and then shift, delete. I just delete it all. So it becomes like a numbers game to us that we say, well, it costs this much money, but if I got 3 or 4 deals on it, it'd be okay. I just think that we need to rethink that though, because, okay, so let's follow along. If I say I sent 100 emails and I got a 10% open rate, so I got 10 people to open it, and then 2 of them bought my product, I'm going to call that success.
That's amazing success. That's
amazing.
Good. For today, that's great.
But think about it. What about the other 90 people who didn't? What if, let's just say you did the research and these 100 people, man, they should buy my product. And if you're just let's be honest, in an email sequence, you're probably 6 to 15 emails that you might have sent that 100 people to really get that 10% open rate. That'd be phenomenal. And then 2 people to buy out of the 100, and you'd say that's successful. I think everyone would. But what about the 90 people who don't like you anymore because you've been, soliciting them and you're not? Why are we doing this when we could? It takes a little bit more time, but I would argue your success rate would be higher if you took the time to deliver more of a personal message to those people in a personal way. I mean, that doesn't have to be video, but at least make it for them. At least take the time to look at their business. I think sometimes first of all, our addressable markets are too big in our initial approach in marketing. So I wish it was 100 emails, but usually it's like 1,000 or 2,000 that we're sending out times maybe 10 business development reps. And so now the inverse, right? So I'm trying to point out is there's an inverse reaction to what we think is a positive thing. So the bad thing that's happening is you're turning off a lot of your addressable market as you're marketing to them constantly. So I'll probably get a lot of people right now either going, yes, I agree with that. You're right. Wow, I didn't think about it like that. Or this guy is totally crazy and off his rocker, because it's just the way people are doing things now. And all I'm offering is to think about it in a different way. Take 10 of those and send a personal message to them. Introduce yourself in a more of a personal way to them, and offer a solution to a problem that they have. And we don't do that enough either. We don't solve people's problems anymore. We just kind of like mass canvas. It's like fishing with a giant net instead of fishing with a pole for the exact fish that we want to catch. I think we just need to get more specific about these things. We found it to be very successful when we're targeted about the businesses we know we can help in this manner and say, it's so good to meet you. It especially works well if we've met at least once, and then you're reaffirming that relationship through the videos, right? But even in a cold outbound, explain to them what you do and the problem that you solve and the service you provide. I think being human, it goes a lot farther than being automatic and bot-like. There are places for that. I'm not against it. Just saying that initially, the first impression we make shouldn't feel like and look like everyone else.
And regarding the Google score, your email system, do you have good results? I suppose you are not going into junk.
Correct. Well, here's the deal. For us, what we're doing is we're actually sending through Gmail. So sending through Messenger. So the delivery is as good as your reputation is.
Okay.
Right.
So my URL.
Correct.
My reputation. Not
your
yours.
reputation is writing that. So when I sent you a video, I sent it through my corporate Gmail account, or you can send it through your corporate Outlook account, right? So it's delivered. It's not a mass email. That's the other thing. All these services we're using, Gmail and the others, are getting smarter and smarter. And so it'll say in the header, it will tell me if this was an email sent to more than one person. It'll tell me, and it makes me, again, it's just making us all easier to be ignored. And I think there's now beginning to be a diminishing return to this saturation of communication against it's you're a customer of someone, but you're actually a customer of like 100 companies, and they're all using the same tactics, right? And so how are we going to break through the noise? The noise is louder than ever. It's noisier than ever. We have got to find a way to desaturate or de-escalate the amount of noise that we are all producing. The term I like to use for this is digital pollution. Right? Yeah. Think about the ocean. So if you're super conservative or conscious about conservation, and you're tired of using plastic bottles or whatever it is, think about it that way when you are just blasting email and text messaging. And as I've been on the call here, 2 robocalls probably trying to sell me something. And that's the other interesting thing. How many times do you answer a call that you don't know the number anymore? Almost never, right? I got to be sitting on a beach with just nothing else to do with my time but to answer a random phone call. We're just ignoring everything. And that's my point, that we need to get more human and personal in how we approach these businesses as a business to the consumer.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
What kind of organization structure do you have?
Everybody's full-time, and we have 168 folks, I think, and then 30 of them are remote, and the rest of them are in Colorado. So we had an office right here in Colorado Springs, and everybody would go to work there. We're actually just now going to return to the office August 2nd. So we're excited about that. And I think that's been a big part of our culture, has always been being together and again, building these relationships, knowing who these people are and caring about them, right? So I'm excited to do that. But I'll give you a couple of ways that I've been able to kind of still do that during the pandemic, and your audience might find interesting. So I have used video to connect with those people, because let's say that you just joined the company, you're new to BombBomb. I never met you before. Typically, I would come by and I'd shake your hand and I'd say hello and how are you and where are you from and how'd you hear about us? I like to do that. So what I've been doing now is just sending a video and introducing myself, telling them I'm glad they're here. If there's anything I can do for you, please reach out, like anytime. And so I've been doing that. And then I've also implemented a Friday update. I do it every Friday and just keep everybody up to speed about what's going on in the business. So it's just an update for everyone, because typically we'd have lunch together on Friday, and I would get up in front of everyone and say, this is what we're doing. This is success that we're having, the failures we've seen, whatever. And so now I'm doing that through video. It's not as good as shaking their hand and being in person, but it's the next best thing. And so I found it to be helpful for me. But yeah, typically everyone's in the office in Colorado. Now we're going back to what we call remote with a hub. So there will be about 40 people in the office, and everyone else will work from home remotely with the option to come into the office as needed.
So you're obviously very successful and you have great energy. So if you can share your daily routine, your mindset for all future entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, people that want to go into that direction.
Yeah, so I'm very regimented and I have been for a long time. So every morning I'm up at 5:30 and I work out for 45 minutes. I mean, that's 4 times a week. I work out 45 minutes. Then I go into reading, meditation, prayer. I'm a Christian, so that's my religion. That's where I practice. I do that. And then I spend time with my family. So I'm the one that I get the kids going to school in the morning. I think that's important too. I don't want to be that checked out dad that's just building the business. They're number one to me. So I get to do that. And I love doing that. But then I'm at work at 8:15. So that's usually at my desk. We start out every day with a stand up with my executive team. That starts at 8:35. And by that time, they have all had stand-ups with their teams. So it's kind of like a roll up. Mm-hmm. We kind of just go around. It's with 12 people, actually. Mm-hmm. And we talk about what's going on in the business every day. So we look at the numbers in the morning, look at every number, look at all these key metrics. And then we go around the horn or around the group, the Zoom, right? And we say, what did we do yesterday? What's our number one priority for today? And what are we grateful for today? Mm-hmm. That's very important, I think, to start the day with gratitude. I believe as a leader that I set the tone for my team for that entire day. And that's what I tell my leaders, that they set the tone for their teams and on down the line, right? So everyone in the business gets a stand up every morning, and that rolls up to mine. And we say, what did I do yesterday? What's my number one priority for today? And what am I grateful for? I love the what's the priority for today, because it holds everybody accountable to what is important. Mm-hmm. And then I can hear you say that. And it's kind of like a peers, all your peers hear you say that. So you get that thing done, right? That thing happens when you say to everyone else, you're going to do it, right? And then the gratitude thing is a big deal. Now that can be personal gratitude, that can be professional gratitude, but I want to be in an environment that people know that I care about them and I care about what happens to them and what's going on in their lives, right? So that's a key part of and that's a daily routine for me. There you go. From 5:30 to about 9 a.m. my time, that's exactly what I'm doing every day.
For anyone wanting to become part of your family, is there any peer-to-peer relationship or any kind of way of starting doing business with you?
Yeah, I mean, we have a partnerships department. Actually, it's run by a woman named Rebecca Sfoma. She's great. But she handles our partnerships, our affiliate programs, all of those things, and her team do that. She's also the one that runs our speaking teams and things that they travel. She's a part of our marketing department. So that's an easy way. So yeah. And on our website, you can find those resources too. But I always like to build relationships with folks too, like keep a network of folks. And I love entrepreneurism. I like helping young entrepreneurs figure it out. And I think most of the time what I find is two things. They either quit too soon, and the reason they do that is they run out of money some way and somehow, right? And so I think the one thing I learned through this is to live below your means, or, if you make $100,000, you need to live on 70. Okay. If you want to start a business, you might need to live on 50. So that's the thing. I think people, when you start a business, you got to go lean. Otherwise, so we've never taken any kind of venture capital either. So we've bootstrapped this all the way. And now we're cruising near $30 million in revenue. So to do that, you have to have a mentality that's like, I'm going to be lean about this. And so my best advice is that just don't go buy a brand new car if you just started a business, or if you have a brand new car, you might have to sell it. Like when we started this business, I had a brand new Toyota 4Runner. All right. I sold that car. I bought a 2000. Then, this was like in 2006. It was a brand new car. I bought a 5-year-old car, a Toyota Camry that I could pay for and own, that I didn't have to have a payment on. I think things like that it's a different mindset. But when you're building a business, you're building an asset that should take care of those things for a long time. So you got to think far into the future and believe that you're going to get there. So I think one of the key things too that we found in the business as we were growing it was the idea that we needed core values. So if you're thinking about, or you're in the midst of building a business, or maybe you already have one, but you do not have core values, which are our flexibility, fun, service, relationships, and humility. Those are the 5 that we have. I think that's really important because we built our team around, when we interviewed folks, about what do they think about these core values? What do you think about the core value of relationships, or the core value of humility, or the core value of service, or all these things, right? And so it kind of forms the culture you want, and the people that you want to surround yourself with. And these could be people from all races, religions, doesn't matter, but they tentatively have to agree that relationships matter. You can tell from what I'm saying that I'm pretty deep believer that human connection is a big deal, and relationships are important parts of building businesses and everything else. So if you don't believe that, you're probably not going to work out in BombBomb, right? But the best thing that we did is develop the team along the way and hire people for the core values. And man, I have people that are far smarter than me. I'm good at some things, but they're better at others. And finding out where you're weak and where you're strong, and hiring your weaknesses to compensate for that, and then building a leadership team around that. And I think for me, I'm really a sales and marketing person. So I knew I needed a salesperson that thought about sales like I did. They don't have to think like I do as far as a worldview, but they have to think about sales like I do, right? Like the tenets where I believe there. Marketing too, I think that's the thing that is close to my heart. I have beliefs around what I think marketing should be and it shouldn't. If we disagree about that, it probably won't work. Again, this has nothing to do with like your belief system. It has to be how you think about these tactical principles in business, right? But in customer success, in product and development, I had no experience in some of those. And so I really saw other people who I thought did have expertise and hired them. So I think that's a critical piece too, is develop a culture around core values and develop a team around your weaknesses, right? So now I know we spend a lot of time together, and I appreciate it. And if anybody's interested in understanding more about what we're doing and how to check us out, we're at BombBomb.com. That's with 2 B's in the middle, BOMB.com. And I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. It's one of the easiest places to connect to me. Just my only request is it doesn't have to be a video, but send me a personal message, not just a boilerplate one that says, hey, I heard you on the podcast, or whatever it might be. And I would definitely reply to you. So I just really enjoyed being here. It's been great.
Thanks, Darin.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.